Dota 2 fans, for our third and final game of the series between champions of Summer's Rift and Unknown. New life, new series for Demon, BSJ, and squad. Winner moves on to the grand finals of the Face It Open qualifiers for North America TI5. We'll see which team is able to move on after handily gaining a lead in the start of Game 2. Unknown kind of throwing away an advantage, and Summer's Rift able to punish them for some oversteps. Grandis, what do you think Unknown need to do to win back in this Game 3?
Well, in game number 1, they had some really slick and clean execution, a lot of it from their supports as well, good initiations, and I think they kind of need to fall back on that. I don't mean to say that ZTalk played poorly in the previous game, in game number 2, but I think the biggest thing that they need to change is that they need to change up the draft. The Huskar did not work out at all. I think they need to just stick to what's standard and what's safe.
Yeah, certainly so. A little bit of perhaps of a lack of experience showing, rearing its ugly head there for Unknown, jumping into the pit a few too many times. Don't feel like the Roshan was necessarily so crucial for them to have as it was for them to just deny it from BSJ having it. So a little odd decision into the AA, jumping in with the armlet popped a few times from that Huskar, and they end up losing that game 2. In Summer's Rift looking to carry over their momentum through to this next game. This is the first time Undying has made it through the first phase of bans from both teams in any game of Summer's Rift today. First time Visage made it through, they picked it up first pick. This is the first time Undying makes it through, and they'll grab it up in that one slot.
Yeah, and a very potent hero he is too. Undying just offers so much early brawling and fighting power, which is crucial in the current metagame. Getting an early advantage is really kind of what, I don't know, sets the tone for the rest of the game. At 15 minutes in, most of the time you can kind of get a grip for who has a commanding lead over the game. And Undying is one of those heroes that at that 15-minute mark, you'd really want to have on your team if you want early kills. So a very threatening opener for champions of Summer's Rift. For the Unknown side, they're going to pick up a Storm Spirit and TA simultaneously. Pretty interesting there.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a pick deny, it seems, from Dragon Fist. He's done a lot of work on the TA all day, and they're going to pick it up for themselves here. So we'll see if Dark Kanoa can play, how he can play on that TA in mid lane. Was playing very aggressive on the Tinker in last game, and maybe that'll play to his favor on the TA. But already instant counter pick coming out from Summer's Rift. The Viper not banned earlier by Unknown, and they're going to pick that up before the matchup mid against the TA.
It's going to help them quite a bit, and even if the Templar Assassin is thrown into the safe lane and they put the Storm Spirit mid, Viper does completely fine against both of those heroes. In fact, 1v1, Viper probably wins 99% of the matchups. If there are support rotations, you can tip the scale into your favor, but in particular, Storm Spirit and Templar Assassin really do get punished by the fact that Viper has long range and a lot of ways to harass, where Templar Assassin and Storm Spirit can't really trade very effectively. They're going to need to pick up supports that can assist them in mid, or else it's just going to be a straight-up victory for Summer's Rift. When you have an Undying and Viper on your team, you're banking on the early lanes working out, and I think this should pan out for Summer's Rift. The Undying should do very well wherever they throw him, probably in some way, shape, or form down towards bottom, and Viper in mid.
I mean, they can look to rectify this with BSJ hero pickup for Summer's Rift, but it seems at this point that they're not too willing to take this extremely late. Definitely looking to win the lanes and snowball off of that. And that kind of seems to have been the theme of this patch, at least early on. So therefore, we'll see if they continue with this theme, and we'll see how Unknown is going to look to battle up against this heavy team fight, heavy lane presence lineup. They are going to pick up the Death Ward and a little bit of sustain with that Voodoo Restoration in the form of the Witch Doctor.
It'll help them quite a bit, but now Summer's Rift are going to pick up a Winter Wyvern. This is a very scary hero for Unknown to deal with. Even though Storm Spirit's very mobile, he does have to get pretty close in order to get kills, and at a certain point, he might be forced into going into the Winter Wyvern, or else he just is going to get Winter's Cursed and then focus down. This gives them a lot of ways to deal with Witch Doctor's Death Ward directly through canceling it with the Winter's Curse itself, or by dropping them into the Cold Embrace and stopping all damage coming out from the Witch Doctor and TA for the most part. Though Storm Spirit does bring a little bit of magic damage to the table, I think Winter Wyvern in general is just a really annoying and great pick for Champions of Summer's Rift.
Yeah, and we mentioned it up against the Queen of Pain. It serves much the same purpose against that Storm Spirit. If you jump in a little too deep and grab up a Winter's Curse, you could be in a lot of trouble, especially underneath a Tombstone and a Viper Strike. So it is a little bit scary for Storm Spirit. It does seem like Champions of Summer Rift are more often than not going to want to be grouped together. So I do worry a little bit for the Storm Spirit's ability to find solo picks. But either way, a very potent hero in his own right. Be interesting to see where they put him in lane. Of course, the TA up against the Viper may want to have to dodge that matchup.
Yeah, and I think they probably will in some way, shape, or form. Let's see what's still available for him. It's going to be a Lina pickup for Unknown, probably going to be played as a support. But Witch Doctor and Lina, although they do have a decent amount of range, are very squishy. And Summer's Rift, I'm pretty sure that they have more than enough picks in order to punish this fact and get something really aggressive for Banana Slam Gem, or just pick up the Draw Ranger. Even though it's not partnered with the Visage, the extra damage for Viper and Winter Wyvern is more than going to make up for that fact. And just having that raw amount of physical damage is going to kill off the likes of everybody on the side of Unknown, really. Maybe with the exception of the TA and Storm.
Yeah, and it's really the perfect complement to a Viper Undying opening. I mean, you pretty much stand your Drow Ranger at max range at those tier 1s and do a hell of a lot of damage with that precision aura, pushing down the towers, especially if he picks up that early jumps for the extra attack speed, and you force your enemy to fight into you, else give up that early bounty of gold to your entire team with their tier 1s. So you don't really want to fight into a Tombstone and to Corrosive Skin and a Winter Wyvern early on, but if you do not, Drow Ranger going to put a lot of damage into your structures. So a little bit of a catch-22 being formed here for Unknown.
Even though it's probably not going to end up getting much value for summons, I don't think they necessarily need to pick up any more ranged heroes for the Drow Ranger's position, or I think already it's good enough. So what position are they actually looking to fill? Winter Wyvern should be played as a support, and in some way, shape, or form, Drow Ranger and Viper should be farming, but where are they going to throw the Undying and in what role?
Yeah, it's a little interesting. I mean, I wonder if they put this over in a dual lane, aggressive dual lane with the Undying there. Maybe they pick up something like a Coddle or an Omni Knight to allow for some spam here. There's a little bit of a lack of disable, at least reliable disable with the Witch Doctor Lina. The Cask is a little bit unreliable, as well as the LSA. So I feel like Undying could have a good time if he's partnered with one of his more compatible partners in lane. He could do a lot of work. The Brewmaster does offer a lot of control over to Unknown, but it's a very mid-game oriented lineup now with that last pickup.
Yeah, both teams are going to be fighting at full throttle at probably a very similar click in the 20 to 30 minutes area. Once you get some major items up for the Storm, Templar Assassin, Drow Ranger, and Viper, and everybody's really just going to be going at each other's throats. Winter Wyvern is the only reliable lockdown that they have to stop Brewmaster from getting off his split, and then you can follow up with the Gust and probably stop him from getting it off. But even so, I think Champions of Summer's Rift would be very good to pick up something with just a little bit extra, a little bit more DPS there, and hopefully a lockdown spell, although I'm not exactly sure what fits the bill for them.
Yeah, I really am curious to see what they pair this Undying with, unless they put the Undying in the support role. But I feel like Storm Spirit, if he goes towards that safe lane, will be really weak despite having the Lina and the Witch Doctor around him. Brewmaster, pretty much set in stone. I feel that he's going to be in that off lane. Whether or not it's an aggressive tri lane is yet to be seen, but I doubt that they put either the Storm or the TA there. So it's going to be interesting to see who is in that safe lane and how much work this Undying is able to get done in the face of that one role.
Yeah, 28 seconds left in the reserve time for the Champions of Summer's Rift to round out their lineup. That said, I think that Unknown have some good tools at their own disposal to really take some fights if the Templar Assassin, Storm, Brewmaster don't absolutely get crushed in lane, which granted could end up happening. It's going to be a Shadow Shaman for Demon as the last pick.
Yeah, I like this pickup here. I mean, it is a little bit all in terms of Summer's Rift's ability to scale. They are just kind of going towards this. We're going to fight in your face and take your buildings. if you choose not to team fight us, but neither team scales particularly well, so I feel like it's not an overly greedy pick from Summer's Rift, and it could certainly pan out for them. Looks like it is going to be an aggressive duel, but it will be the Wyvern up with the Brax Undying. So for the dire side, Summer's Rift in the deciding game 3 of these semifinals. Whitebeard picking up that Wyvern. We've got Brax on the Undying. That's going to leave in the mid lane Dragon Fist on his Viper, and over in the safe lane, BSJ for the 4th time today on the Drow Ranger, and Demon for the first time picking up the Shadow Shaman.
And for the unknown side, Templar Assassin going to be handled by Kotaro Heyama. Excel on the Witch Doctor, Zitalk on the Lina. Brewmaster going to be handled by Greedy. And last but not least, Storm Spirit in mid lane by Dark Konoha.
I didn't know Eternal Envy was playing TA this game. What do you know? Sightings
what do you know?
Sightings of EE here. Looks like the Radiant going to secure this top bounty rune. And TA seems to have built for this mid lane. Does have a ward though. Early Soul Ring recipe on the Storm Spirit as well, so a little curious itemization from both sides, and it looks like it could be that aggressive try with the Brewmaster in the safe lane actually, so interesting choice coming out from Unknown. They will secure the top rune for their try. Brack's going to be able to pick one up on the bottom on that Undying, and he can definitely get scary early on. What do you think in terms of if there is an aggressive try? Are they going to bring that Wyvern up to the top lane and let this Undying solo up against the Brew?
Yeah, I think that would be a fine move for them, or maybe even bring the Drow Ranger down towards bottom and do a full lane swap. Undying 1v1 against the Brewmaster is not going to die, and will farm pretty effectively, but you don't pick Undying just to farm.
Right.
You want to get inside these fights, want to get some kills, and he really does thrive in situations where you're in like a dual lane versus tri lane, or try versus try. So we'll have to see how these all shake down. Lightstrike Array going to be attempted onto Demon, but he's going to end up avoiding that one and will survive. With boots first, the Shadow Shaman is quite elusive.
Yeah, Whitebeard going to rotate down through the trees, but is pretty safe, only having the casket level 1. Probably won't be brought down. He's going to fly over with the Arctic Burn, though, and the Ether Shock goes out onto Excel, dropping him fairly low as well. In the meantime, Dark Konoha has been aggressed on, but there's no Frost Arrows for the BSJ Drow Ranger yet, and Konoha will be able to salve up. Some nice harass coming out simultaneously, both onto the Witch Doctor and the Storm Spirit from the Dire safe lane.
Yeah, for sure. The lanes have slowed down a bit. Viper is going to be against Templar Assassin in mid, so Viper is going to have a great time up against this TA. Burning through the refraction charges so very easily means that the Viper can trade hits against Templar Assassin very effectively, and that's something that's not comfortable for TA. She likes to be able to have those defensive charges to gain an edge.
Yeah, early Wraith Band picked up as well by the Viper to secure that advantage. Demon waiting in the trees, as is Excel. They knew how close they were to one another, perhaps looking to back off, but either way, this is going to be a heavily contested lane for farm. Already 6 last hits onto Dark Konoha's Storm Spirit, so they have been able to disrupt BSJ's farm a little bit. Arctic Burn coming from the tree line from Whitebeard onto all the heroes of the aggressive try from Unknown, and it's just a glancing blow from him and be a little bit of harass. The bottle does come out mid lane for the TA, who is going to find this bounty rune top, as Dragon Fist just content to continue sitting in lane and farming up.
Even though we've talked up how good Viper is in mid lane versus the TA, she's still CSing fairly well for herself, and her aggressive charges are still getting some value. Some traded blows down towards bottom. It's going to drop Greedy very low. Brax doesn't have a lot of mana. Doesn't have a mango at the disposal. Is Witch Doctor also going to cop a lot of harass inside top lane. Brax needs to be very careful. He only has 1 decay, and once that stack wears off, he's going to be on very low amounts of HP. Lucky enough for him, there's not enough mana for a clap on the Brewmaster. He's going to refresh that decay stack and get into a man fight. This is a very risky man fight. Gets 1 miss and gets a second miss, or actually cancels that attack. Now that Greedy is salving up, Brax probably needs to go all the way back to base. It's top lane where Witch Doctor ends up going down. The fight's not over yet as Zitalk is tagged by a couple of Frost Arrows. They'll turn around to Lightstrike Array. Banana Slam Gem is going to get destroyed by the Storm Spirit. A 2-for-2 trade up in this top lane. An absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, and Storm Spirit, the only core to be alive after all the deaths, so kind of seems to benefit BU here. Splinter Blast going to fly out as well as the Arctic Burn onto the Storm, but Demon is nowhere nearby to continue to follow up with a Shackle or a Hex here. So Konoha going to be fine just to rotate back. And TP's back in lane from BSJ as well. Greedy getting very deep bot lane. Doesn't have quite enough mana for a clap here, but 1 big crit and another hit into Brax could spell his doom. So Brax playing a little bit safe at this point. Greedy going to cop a couple of hits from the tower. Cardi going to come in along with him, put a little bit of chip damage into this tier 1.
Brax will go ahead and buy a salve and 2 clarities, needing to keep himself sustained in this bottom lane. I'm actually surprised.
Mid lane.
Ooh, there's going to be a lot of damage over in towards the Templar Assassin, but taking one too many tower shots, the Viper won't go ahead and go for that dive, although it is a very precarious situation.
Yeah, I did have that second set of refraction charges there as well. But now at a bottle charges, needs to be a little bit careful. Does ferry out those boots for herself, so can't be chased down too reliably by the Viper. And we will have Excel pick up the bounty top lane. So no sustain for this Viper, no regen really left for him except for a Tango on a long cooldown, but he's still going to put...
Ooh, they're going to jump onto Brax. His Templar Assassin survives on very low HP in mid. The double damage run on and dying. He's a force to be reckoned with, but he just doesn't have enough mana to sustain himself, and it looks like nobody's actually going to die. I'm very surprised by that.
Yeah, the TA getting very low as well. Mid lane, refraction charges all gone, but can be popped up again. A lot of mana available to this TA for now, and Viper even needs to be a little bit careful himself. Rotations in from either side feel like it will net a kill, but bottom lane, Arctic Burn coming out onto Excel. Big right clicks from Brax as well. The Decay will be there to finish off the Witch Doctor, and finally a rotation over from Whitebeard. Gonna net a kill in this lane for Brax. Meanwhile, top lane, TP's inbound as well, and that's the Brewmaster rotating up towards the top. If they can find BSJ with an LSA, they will. Clap to follow, and it is going to land BSJ on the Draw Ranger. Going to fall to that Dragon Slave coming out from Z-Talk, and that'll give him the first element of his Yule Scepter to come.
Yeah, that's a really awkward spot for the Draw Ranger, alone with no supports. She tried to turn around for the Gust, but just not fast enough with the turn rate, and couldn't really do much after the fact. Viper's doing well in his mid lane, but since the supports have been rotating so much, Banana Slam Gem has really had a poor time. 0, 2, and 2 on the safe lane farming Draw Rangers, getting a lot more pressure than they should be comfortable with, and the Undying down towards bottom, although he's doing fine for himself, gets himself 1 kill as Arcane Boots, Orb of Venom. I don't think it's enough to make up for the fact that Dro is suffering so poorly.
Yeah, BSJ not farming well at all, only 19 CS. Needs to start finding some kills, and with Whitebeard rotating out of lane, as you mentioned, has a lot of pressure in his face. Splinter Blast going to fly out bottom lane. Tombstone going to be dropped as well. Arctic Burn to slow down Dark Kanoa. Brax getting pretty low. Doesn't want to jump into that Remnant. And the cast going to bounce through. The Decay from range, though, will be able to bring down the Storm Spirit. The Soul Rip is there as well. Whitebeard going to try and chase deeply with a couple more right clicks. Does have the Splinter Blast available. Will fire it. And it will kill off the Witch Doctor. Big chunk of damage from that level 3 Splinter Blast coming out from Whitebeard.
While all that's going on, mid lane, they'll dive the Viper with the first use of the split and a haste rune on the Templar Assassin. So it is going to be a consolation prize for Unknown, but still a pretty big win for Summer's Rift down in that bottom lane. The Storm Spirit kill is pretty big for Brax. Yeah,
it does help out the TA immensely in the mid, though, and they will try to bring down, or at least chip away at this mid tier 1 as well, with this Ionic Trap slowing up the creep wave. Try and get a little bit of map control away from this Viper, not allow him to play so aggressively into the TA, but he does have the Viper Strike available and his headdress, and can look to fight up mid if he gets a little bit of support. And it looks like the Radiant side are going to be content with what they've achieved and back off.
Stormster is also having a pretty poor time, I suppose, to mirror the early game of Banana Slam Gem. He just barely now finishes up his Soul Ring, doesn't even have that delivered to him. So both teams, I'd say that this early game is going pretty evenly, and I think that probably favors Unknown, in all honesty. When you have a Viper and an Undying on the field, you expect these heroes to absolutely dominate, and that's just not happening. Templar Assassin, after getting that kill on the Viper, actually has a net worth advantage.
Yeah, if this were 20 minutes later and it was even, I would say that Summer's Rift looked like in a good position, but into the mid game, I mean, you want to be doing really well with an Undying and a Viper on your squad, and the Viper already dying once. Brax finding a couple of kills, but hasn't been as active as you want it to be on this Undying, and already some stacks being farmed up by the TA as well. And she's going to ferry out, seems to be the makings of a Vlad's for herself as well, so things looking better and better. It's going to be a full Keela for now for the TA. A couple more items there on the courier. Soul Ring picked up by Z-Talk as well, so he's going to be able to spam out some of his magic damage, and BSJ just going to have more pressure in his face as Greedy going to rotate up towards this top lane. 1200 gold onto the Brewmaster. Will find Demon, but nothing yet to cancel that TP. It was actually a long TP, and maybe Z-Talk rotates in with a stun there, but either way, Brax going to rotate in. maybe looking for Greedy. They know the split was used mid lane, but it is going to just cool down now. Greedy going to try and get out everything he can, and he will be shackled up. But with the LSA to cover him, should be able to get off the Primal Split. The Gust is too late from BSJ. Brax is going to fall after his Shadow Shaman falls. The Tombstone going to be absolute food as well for the Radiant side. 150 gold going the way of the Brewmaster. And the Viper joining the party along with Whitebeard is a little bit late. They should be able to clean up Greedy here fairly easily. And Z-Talk needs to turn tail and run. Will be able to make it out. BSJ doesn't get in range for a Frost Arrow. And overall, ends up being a 2-for-1. Brewmaster going down for the Undying and the Shadow Shaman.
Yeah, Summer's Rift were just shy of the lockdown to keep that Brewmaster from getting off his Primal Split because the Lina was there. They relied almost entirely on having the Brewmaster being there alone and getting very few misses, if any at all. He still goes down after all is said and done, but after getting 2 kills, makes up for the fact that he does lose a little bit of gold. He's getting closer and closer towards his blink, and while all that's happening, you have the Templar Assassin farming up, and Storm Spirit also catching up into this game after having such a subpar start, is now at the 3rd highest net worth inside the game as his power treads, and is just farming it up through the woods as Storm Spirits generally do. This is all right for Unknown, even though they do lose their brew.
Yeah, Dark Gano has been given a lot of space after a brutal start, and BSJ has been able to keep up. Hasn't died in the last little bit after a quick couple of deaths early on, but still is playing fairly scared in his lane. Just a full Aquila and the treads up for the Drow now, and Z-Talk going to continue to apply some pressure towards this Drow. Throwing out that Dragon Slave. Greedy going to run through. Doesn't have the blink just yet, but just going to show his presence in lane in the face of BSJ. And now maybe Summer's Rift grouping up, looking for this tier 1 push bottom lane. 3 heroes inbound. The Undying, the Wyvern, and the Shadow Shaman.
Yeah. The next split should probably have a Blink Dagger for the Brewmaster, but even without, if they catch an offhand Light Strike Array onto Banana Slam Gem, that could be a kill. But there's also a fight brewing down towards bottom. With the wards already on the deck, it doesn't look like Unknown are really interested in making this defense, although Storm Spirit is close by with an Invis rune. We have a lot of lag coming up from the server. I felt that too, but it looks like we're going to have a pause, and we're just going to be chilling as we wait for that to subside.
Volvo. Yeah, hopefully we can get these issues rectified. Looks like we're going to get right back underway here. And tower is going to be dropped down. Last hit goes Demon's way. 1100 gold in addition to the Arcane Boots on that Shadow Shaman. Brock's going to be able to TP top, maybe to help out BSJ here. BSJ looking to aggress forward. No vision for the Dire side, though, to scout out Z-Talk. And Greedy showing himself in lane. Is going to catch a Decay stack. Does have the Primal Split available once again, though. And without the Shadow Shaman here, they certainly do lack the lockdown to bring down this Brewmaster before the split gets off. Meanwhile, bot lane, Dark Kanoa showing himself. Does have the Ball Lightning and a TP available. Whitebeard going to fly through. Is going to use the Winter's Curse right away. Ether Shock will be there. And the Splinter Blast. Finishing off that Storm Spirit. Something we alluded to in the draft. Winter's Curse, excellent way to deal with that mobile Storm Spirit.
Yeah, a wonderful spell in general, and even if it wasn't enough, they had plenty of follow-up disable from the Shadow Shaman. But in the meantime, you do have your Blink now up for Greedy. With the Blink Clap split, that'd be the death of pretty much anybody, unless Banana Slam Jam can get off the silence before the clap flies through. Alrighty then, so Unknown, although they do lose their Storm, are still sitting on a decent amount of ways to start fights, and their Templar Assassin has been left pretty much alone. Not sure if this is Desolator or BKB, but a Blink Clap split is primed and ready from Greedy. He's going to use it in mid as he boulder tosses up Dragon Fist. The Lacuna Blade into Brax. Brax still surviving for a little bit longer. They lack the damage immediately, but now that Storm Spirit comes in, they might be able to kill off this Undying. It looks like they will. Continuously kiting them around. Storm Spirit has plenty of bottle regen with the Splinter Blast that is going to delay them, but not near enough. Dragon Fist is also going to end up going down. Demon, that's ballsy, my friend. Okay, so he's going to end up going down. Light Strike Array will cancel that TP and a double kill for Dark Konoha.
Yeah, Demon always looking on the brighter side of life. Very optimistic TP from him there. On the edge of the steps, great fight mid lane with the reveal of that Blink Dagger coming out for Greedy's Brewmaster, and he's just gotten so much out of his lane. You mentioned it early on. I mean, yeah, the Undying is going to do well in that lane. He's going to farm. He's not going to have his farm stifled, but he can't really deny it up from the Brewmaster, and picking up this Blink at a very reasonable timing in the 1v1 lane and able to put it to use immediately.
And after a couple of subpar fights for Brax, he's been delayed. He wants to go for a mechanism, maybe even Guardian Greaves after the fact, or just some nice armor and aura items for his team. That's going to take quite a while.
Yeah.
Unknown are getting a lot of momentum. All of their heroes are getting the farm they need, especially this TA. Double damage rune, it is actually going to be a very fast deso up for this Templar Assassin. That's very scary, especially if your name is Shadow Shaman. It's getting close to, I don't know, two-shot territory. If he didn't have the medallion, he'd probably just end up dying.
Yeah, already having that deso up sub 15 minutes with the double damage rune available as well. Maybe look for them to smoke off the back of this off the next cooldown of the primal split, and they can certainly blow up either the WW or the Shadow Shaman pretty darn quickly. Wards are up for the other side though, so maybe Summer's Rift looking to make a Roshan attempt here, and they will aggress into the pit. Demon going to be there. It seems like immediately aware, though, is the side of Unknown. They know how much Roshan bit them in the rear last game, and maybe they're hoping for the same to happen for Summer's Rift. An instant response towards the pit here. Greedy has the blink available. Will jump, clap onto 2, gets gusted up. Ether Shock as well, but the Death Ward doing so much work onto BSJ. The cast going to bounce through. He'll barely get out of range of that Death Ward, and Summer's Rift now going to look to re-engage. Double damage rune popped up by the TA, and gonna jump forward with the refraction charge. Big clap coming out from Greedy. 2-man, and the split is there. Boulder toss goes out. LSA hits onto 3, and the zip forward from Dark Konoha will leave him isolated up on the high ground, but he will be able to zip out to the east. BSJ in the meantime does pick up that Aegis, but he's been isolated in the pit. The wards are doing work against the primal split elements, but Greedy gonna have to back out after bringing down that Aegis, and the TA isolated now to the south. Does still have that DD rune channeling him. BSJ is pretty squishy at this point. LSA is going to land onto... Actually, he's going to whiff, and BSJ able to make it out to the east. Does cancel his TP. He's actually going to look for more here as the TA goes down. All in all, though, pretty good fight for Unknown despite giving the Aegis over to BSJ.
Yeah, they take the Aegis immediately after the fact. If they didn't lose their Templar Assassin, that would have been an amazing victory for them. Who needs Ravage when of Light Strike Array, however? That Lina finding the perfect angle, Ztok getting a really good Light Strike Array off, and after the fact was ulted by the Winter Wyvern. Without that extra bit of lockdown, Summer's Rift weren't really able to fight very effectively. At the very least, a lot less effectively than they could have otherwise. Templar Assassin spent a lot of that fight trying to right-click a hero inside the Cold Embrace with the double damage rune, so a little bit of wasted damage potential there, but it still worked completely fine for them, especially since the first time around when Brewmaster jumped in and got gusted, he didn't even have the split. It was a big bluff by Greedy.
Yeah, and Ztok has just been playing phenomenally all series long for Unknown. Seems like he's really keeping him in the game. BSJ going to throw out a Frost Arrow onto the TA. He's going to get a Psionic Trap up. And MNZ going to be able to back off on the TA for the time being.
The push will commence from Summer's Rift. They'll drop everybody in this bottom lane, although they're slowed down. They have a mech up for the Viper and plenty of fighting potential, especially since the wards are down on the ground. Brewmaster is currently showing inside the mid lane to a Dire Observer, and he does not have the split for 20. This is a window where Summer's Rift can look for a push, even without the second life for Banana Slam Jamma. Tier 2 tower is going to fall one way or another. Will it be denied? No. Draw Ranger gets the tower destruction.
Yeah, and it's one of the first times we've seen the power of Summer's Rift line up. Just jump up in a tower. Going to take your structures, else you're going to have to team fight us, and definitely Unknown goes as the Primal Split does. They are going to find out the Wyvern here. He's going to throw an Arctic Burn over onto the Storm Spirit. And going to look to back off towards the east. Greedy coming through with a clap, though. And the Electric Vortex will be there to slow up Whitebeard. He will use the Winter's Curse defensively. And they will actually not have the damage to bring him down. Nicely played by Whitebeard. He'll be able to make it out. Does blow that ultimate, but not definitely worth saving his life.
Yeah, and with only the 1 point up into the pool, it really just wasn't available there for them to get that kill in its entirety. The Brewmaster, I'm not even sure if it was necessary to ult him, since he would have had to split for that kill, and if I'm the Winter Wyvern, getting the split out of that would be alright, in all honesty, but for the time being, yeah, things have slowed down. We're 13-8 in our kill score. Unknown currently sitting on about a 2,000 net worth advantage, and a very moderate 6,000 experience advantage, but still, the game could go either way. It really depends on how these fights go through. If the Brewmaster is able to get off his split, I favor Unknown, but else, Summer's Rift still have a lot of damage, even though their Draw Ranger is having maybe not the best of games.
Yeah, Blink are going to be picked up as well by MNZ on the TA, and with that Deso and the Blink now can blow up either this Wyvern or this Shadow Salmon early on. Top lane, they are going to try to go on Ztok, but he'll be able to TP out. in the tree line. Nicely played by the Lina, and the Cask going to keep Excel safe as well.
Banana Slam Jamma, got out by Brewmaster, and TA will be ripped apart. A couple of crits and a Deso hit here and there, and he's going to be brought down very easily. And now they collapse on the rest of the team of Summer's Rift. They have a Blink Clap split at the ready. The split is going to be stopped, turned into a golden sheep. He doesn't even need it, though. One auto attack from the Templar Assassin and one auto attack from the Brewmaster, and that's 2 clean kills for Unknown.
Yeah, Unknown looking very good now, and a little bit on the sidelines. The wave isn't pushed up quite as much as they would like it to be at this point. But a little bit of time on the sidelines for that Shadow Shaman and the Draw Ranger will give them enough to get this wave at least close to the tier 2 and put some chip damage into it.
Yeah, and maybe even a little bit more than that. The Desolator does do quite a bit to these tier 2 towers. Winter Wyvern is deep behind enemy lines with no TP. Whitebeard is stuck. He does have his, or actually no, is there an avenue there for him? Winter Wyvern might be a little bit fat. No, he's fine. He can walk out of there alive. He does have the Arctic Burn if things really got hairy. This wraparound might end up working out for Summer's Rift, however. They're leaving the Templar Assassin to hit the tier 2 by himself, and nobody expects the Wyvern wraparound.
Yeah, he is going to Arctic Burn up through the trees. Does have that curse available. Blink back is very short range from MNZ. Jump forward, though. Clap is going to connect onto Demon. There's going to be a ward trap onto Greedy. He does get the split off in time, though. The Death Ward doing work as well. The physical damage going to be mitigated by that Cold Embrace, but the Viper soon to fall thereafter. Cycloned up in the air as well is BSJ. They're looking into the trees to find Whitebeard. Haven't been able to do it quite yet, but the Cask going to bounce through onto BSJ, and the Witch Doctor getting a little low for Excel, having to back off. The Blink is available from the backlines from MNZ, though, with the Meld Strike going to do a lot of work on the BSJ, but he will be able to gust him up and back off either way. Primal Split committed. Tier 2 dropped. Viper dropped. And the Shadow Shaman dropped. Whitebeard still in the tree line, and MNZ well aware of it, but just can't find him quite yet. Has a Psionic Trap available. Will he guess correctly?
Whitebeard has made these top trees his home. I don't think he's ever going to leave. He wants to, for sure. And it looks like eventually he is going to find himself an avenue, at the very least, to get out of that little nook. Your Orchid is online for the Storm Spirit, has a regeneration rune. The Storm is pretty happy indeed. And Unknown have even more items at their disposal to look for kills. And speaking of kills, my goodness, that Desolator damage onto Brax drops him low, but that Ice Brick coming out from the Winter Wyvern is going to save the Undying from pretty much any follow-through. Templar Assassin is brick-walled by that Cold Embrace.
Yeah, things looking worse and worse for Summer's Rift here. And BSJ really hasn't found much item progression since that Drums HOD. Force Staff comes out for Brax now. Doesn't seem like it's going to be the item to turn the tides. This Undying, after having a solo lane early on, is only level 9. You take a look at the hero levels, he's really right at the bottom of the barrel. And things looking very good for the Radiant side. 4 of their heroes at the top of the level charts, and 4 out of 5 of the top 5 net worth in their hands as well.
Viper, although a good hero in my eyes, does rely on snowballing through the mid game and doing well inside these fights. And Dragon Fist hasn't either. 1-4-1 on the Viper. Dying, although not a terrible KD of 2-3-3, is less than where you'd expect it to be. Unknown are winning fights that they probably shouldn't be because of a couple of missteps coming out from Summer's Rift. They might find a Storm Spirit, however, over in the trees. Does he spot out the Wyvern? He's going to zip over towards the right. Zip and TP. Dark Noha is going to make his way all the way back to base. Smoke, although I think it's a good move coming up from Summer's Rift, fails because of Storm Spirit's Remnant Vision. Yeah,
just good use of just good mechanically sound play there from the Storm Spirit. Walking through a tree line, might as well drop a Remnant and give yourself a little bit more information before doing so. Saves his life. No doubt about it. And the smoke rotation, as you mentioned, thwarted from the Radiant side. And now looking a little bit confused as to what their next move is for Summer's Rift. We will see the Roshan spawn in about a moment. The timing on that will be almost a complete max spawn. Can't say that favors either team, but no Roshan dance going to be made from either side. 3,400 gold onto MNZ on this TA now. What's the next item do you feel for this TA?
BKB, even though it's not necessarily what you want to be building up against a Winter Wyvern that does have that ultimate that goes through the Black King Bar match community, it's still going to stop the Hex Initiation from Shadow Shaman or that
Yeah.
follow-up, and there's a lot of just AoE damage that you want to be avoiding. In general, it's a good item on TA, and I think this game is no exception, although he might find something different. Mid lane, Blink, split, they're going to go into Banana Slam, Jamma. The Drow Ranger does have the Cold Embrace on tour, and they drop the ultimate. The Winter's Curse on the Stormstorm will be his undoing. Another Boulder Toss in the Banana Slam, Jamma. The Brewmaster can't fight any further with the Tombstone on the deck. The Brewmaster, can he get this blink out? Looks like he can, although he's going to be decayed up. Nicely timed coming out from Brax. They can't follow up that kill, however, it's still a good trade for Summer's Rift, catching out the Storm Spirit in a really awkward spot. Good positioning coming out from Whitebeard.
Yeah, it's a little odd to see that Storm Spirit jump back in. It was really just cover fire coming out from the Brewmaster to save him there with the split. Probably just could have wind walked away the Wind Remnant, fed over the other couple, and just lost the Primal Split for it. But this way, they lose a cooldown and a hero, and this opens up the door for Summer's Rift certainly to take at least this tier 2. They'll drop the wards and get to work. And the Glyph going to be forced out here. Arctic Burn from the high ground onto Z-Talk from the Winter Wyvern, as well onto Excel. They will be able to get that last hit for Demon. Cast going to bounce through nicely between Demon and Dragon Fist, but no further aggression here. Actually, the blink up to the high ground. There's a Hex out onto MNZ, and without that BKB, going to be shackled up underneath the Tombstone and going to be brought down. Greedy trying to do some split pushing here, but he's just a lowly old Brewmaster and not the scariest without any of those pushing items.
He does have Boots of Travel, though, so he can do this pretty reliably, blink out and TP out. He's going to be home free. The item of choice for Templar Assassin is Daedalus. Although a very smashy item, it doesn't stop the fact that Cold Embrace is still going to be a nuisance for you to deal with, and there is a lot of focus fire coming out from Summer's Rift. This is a lot of momentum lost by Unknown after losing her TA and the Storm Spirit reflected in the graphs. What once was almost a 11,000 net worth lead for Unknown is now pared down to about 8,000, and experience is also down to about 12k. Although this is still an advantage for them, and they should be happy about their position in the game, they can't bleed heroes so much. They need to stop that and maybe go for some more unified pushes. Aghanim Scepter up for Lina, actually. Z-Talk has found a lot of farm. 2, 1, and 13 helps for sure, but he's been giving plenty of space, and in fact is out farming the enemy mid-Viper. If I'm a mid-Lina this game, I'm pretty happy with the 25 minutes Yule's Ags.
Yeah, Z-Talk has always been able to quietly find his farm, and he's really turned the tides of team fights over and over again. Feel like he's been kind of a pillar of stability for this Unknown team, whereas a lot of, their other players have made a few questionable decisions, especially last game where they fed over an advantage. So that burst damage from the pure Laguna Blade there going to be very nice against some of these squishier supports who are a pretty vital part of Summer's Rift lineup. I mean, BSJ can't get nearly enough work done without the Cold Embrace and the disables from the Shadow Shaman to cover.
Yeah, he does need that extra bit of help. That said, if the ulti from the Winter Wyvern is good, and it should be, since Whitebeard does have a Blink Dagger and can get very easily into position for that, there is the potential for that extra bit of cover. And now they smoke up, look into the enemy woods, they'll find themselves a Storm Spirit waiting, spotted out by dire observers. Dark Anoha is probably going to get caught out here, although he does have a team behind him with a level 2 Aghanim Scepter Laguna Blade. The smoke's going to be popped instantly. They're going to get the ultimate over onto Greedy. Greedy being focused down. Can he get off his ultimate first? It looks like the answer is no. He's going to be shackled to pieces, although they drop Banana Slam Gemma to a very low amount of HP. He's going to be hugged by the Winter Wyvern and will survive with that Cold Embrace. They chase forward for Witch Doctor. They find 3 in Summer's Rift. That fight probably couldn't have gone much better.
No, I mean, Whitebeard has just been in perfect positioning all game long. Second time already that he's been completely had his ass saved by Whitebeard. And now, with that medallion, easy Roshan going to be taken for Unknown. And all of a sudden, the momentum has swung heavily in their favor as MNZ going to try and find a tier 2 for his troubles mid lane. Will be able to do so, but he's going to get hexed up by Demon, and the support is inbound. Arctic Burn there to bring down the refraction charges, and all the burst damage is more than enough. And that's a big target to bring down in that mid lane. Certainly not worth taking the tier 2. Feeding over that TA. That's 1700 XP bounty, 900 gold bounty, with 600 of that going to Demon, probably towards his Aghanim Scepter.
Yeah, this is scary. Unknown keep on bleeding heroes and losing this advantage. We're now down to 6,000 in their favor, and it really doesn't feel like they're fighting like they did have at one point a really significant golden experience lead. They're losing so much momentum, and eventually the gas is going to be out of their tank. They have a full Daedalus up for your Templar Assassin, so that's nice and all. But I don't think it's nice enough in particular. You have an Aegis now on the Draw Ranger, and Summer's Rift team fight seems to be on a notch above as long as Brewmaster can't get off his split. And it seems in the last couple of fights, Greedy hasn't found a good opening, or he's been focused down very nicely.
Yeah, some very nice overlap with disables in that last engagement. In the one previously, it really wasn't the ideal situation for him to jump in, just trying to save his Storm Spirit there, so doesn't look too good for the Brewmaster recently. The Storm Spirit hasn't been able to get enough work done with the Winter's Curse, pretty much been solely used on him as well, so things not looking very good for Unknown side, and they need to make certainly better decisions and more team-oriented decisions, as they have been caught out solo a couple of times here. The Yule Scepter is almost there as well for Whitebeard, so the dream of jumping in with a Meld Strike and blowing him up is ever the more unreachable with that item available to him on top of the Blink.
Zitok going to be leading the charge with the smoke coming out from Unknown. Is packing a lot of heat with that level 2 Laguna Blade, and it looks like he's going to find initiation. If they can focus down the Wyvern, that's the ideal target. They're going to Laguna Blade and Meld Strike into the Viper. Two-shot after that Laguna Blade, and Whitebeard also going to die. The damage that TA is pumping out is immense. A couple of zips from the Storm Spirit, not going to net them anything, but they farm up a Tombstone and Serpent Wards as well. That's a lot of Summer's Rift ability to take a fight down the tubes, and they even catch an Undying inside the base. Do they really want to dive this far? It's behind Tier 4 towers. I'd suggest against it. There's a buyback from the Viper. Hex over onto Zitok. Zitok going to be able to walk out of there, but Templar Assassin maybe not so lucky. He's slowed down to a crawl. Viper struck up. Frost Arrows literally at 100 movement speed, trying to TP out. Cancelled by Demon. Shocked down and killed. That does cost him a buyback on the Shadow Shaman as well. And Ato slow onto Excel, chasing down the Witch Doctor. He's also going to die. Double kill for Dragon Fist. Although a costly defense for Summer's Rift, they do it.
Yeah, a couple buybacks there expended. Actually, just the one on the Shadow Shaman. So not the most expensive defense coming out from Summer's Rift, but certainly is gonna make it a little bit more appealing for them to try and find an objective off the back of that kill on the Templar Assassin. They probably did see this Daedalus recently, so are well aware that if she does have buyback just barely, and the case is that the TA does not have buyback at this point, as well as this Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor not down for quite as long, but with this Drow Ranger, this Tier 3 could be easily brought down before that Witch Doctor is back on the field.
Dragon Fist also bought back in that last exchange. I'm not sure why it didn't show up on the fight recap, but either way, the state still remains the Templar Assassin. The majority of their damage is now down the tubes. They're going to lose to Tier 3, and they Laguna Blade up Banana Slam Jamma, but he's going to have more than enough sustained paralytic gas bouncing back and forth between the Ogre, the Viper, and the Draw Ranger. Everybody is going to survive, and that includes the melee and ranged barracks. Summer's Rift probably have to just fall all the way back towards their side of the map, although maybe they can look for a fake back. They don't have a Winter's Curse available, and without that initiation coming out from Whitebeard, I think they'd be better served just farming up the enemy woods. Maybe they'll smoke and wait onto this high ground. This could work out for them.
Yeah, they do opt to take that Tier 3 and back out, and there is no vision from the Radiant side, so perhaps they catch a Storm Spirit farming this medium camp. If he zips over, he's going to use a decent amount of his mana as well, and he's going to come up high ground. They will have the smoke pop onto Brax here. Will he be scouted by Dark Kanoa? It doesn't seem like that's the case with the Winter. The Gust is going to be there in time. Will the Winter's Curse come out? It's actually on cooldown, as you mentioned, so they can't lock down this Storm Spirit enough, and we'll just force him to back off and retreat themselves.
A very expensive courier is going to be flying out to Summer's Rift. You have Whitebeard's Yule Scepter, a Talisman Evasion for Banana Slam Jamma, and a Ghost Scepter for Demon to stop the damage from the Templar Assassin and from him getting absolutely obliterated. Summer's Rift are now going to group up. Roshan isn't going to be online for at the very least 3 minutes, but probably a little bit longer than that. Both teams just vying for control of the map.
Yeah, and the TA starting to fall off a little bit. 2,200 gold available to MNZ, but has had this Deso and Daedalus for a bit, and the BKB is now going to be the choice, as you suggested earlier. But after the Daedalus, still holding that top position on net worth, but just not looking quite as scary. One nice pickup though for Unknown is this BKB for Greedy. That'll allow him to get off probably a couple of claps before he is forced to split, and should be able to reliably allow him to split, as he wasn't able to do in that last engagement in the Radiant jungle.
Yeah, Winter's Curse still goes through, but unless everybody's focusing on him, and maybe even Serpent Wards too, he should be able to survive if he doesn't get absolutely messed up by the RNG. of Drunken Brawler. If he just gets a couple of misses in there, he should be able to get off his ulti 9 times out of 10. We're still waiting for level 16 on the Lina, but once that comes up, all of these supports need to be very, very careful. 1157 HP on both the Shadow Shaman and the Winter Wyvern. They'll almost be one-shotted. Dragon Slave and ulti ought to do it.
Yeah, they're going to find out Excel in their jungle. Arctic Burn going to take him down pretty low. And the Viper Strike will be there as well. Meanwhile, in the back lines, Ztok's going to pick one off. That's the Winter Wyvern with that Laguna Blade, Aghanim Scepter. And trading of supports from both teams. And considering Unknown being a little bit out of position there, that's a pretty good trade for them.
That is your Aghanim Scepter, Laguna Blade plus Dragon Slave. Killing off the Wyvern and Shadow Shaman couldn't be easier for the Lina. As long as she's able to keep her distance in the fight, she can pretty much make any engagement a 4v5, which is really great for the Unknown side. It's still favoring Unknown. They're getting more farm out of this map. You have that BKB on the Templar Assassin. I'm pretty sure you pointed that out earlier, but that helps so much as now the TA can fight a lot more comfortably. She already had more than enough damage. That wasn't ever the problem. Joe Ranger has a butterfly, so maybe if she's lucky, that can help her survive, but Banana Slam Jamma is still very squishy to the burst coming out from Unknown, both physical and magic. It really still relies on her getting covered by the disables of Winter Wyvern as well as the Shadow Shaman.
Yeah, it would be nice for her to dodge a Meld Strike, but either way, I don't feel like it's enough at this point. Effective HP for her to withstand the damage coming out from Unknown, and still going to rely heavily on the supports. We saw Ztok's ability to blow one of those up, so if he can blow one up, Yule's the other. BSJ going to be a little bit... it's going to be a little bit difficult for BSJ to stay up in these engagements, and he is a big chunk of their damage.
For sure. Well, Unknown are still controlling the map, and you can see that with their word vision. They have a lot of good control over pretty much everywhere, in all honesty, and the same isn't reflected by Summer's Rift. They have no wards out at the moment, and going into this map blind is incredibly scary when you have a Brewmaster that can blink, clap, split you, and you have a Storm Spirit that can also jump from miles away with 11 Bloodstone charges. Bottom lane, they're going to find themselves out. A Templar Assassin shackled inside the wards. They'll bring her down, and that's a really big pickoff for Summer's Rift. Maybe that extra vision gave Templar Assassin a false sense of security. She's going to be killed.
Yeah, very nice usage of the Winter's Curse there. Whitebeard been really on point all game long, and that ability has been absolutely pivotal for Summer's Rift. His ability to stall out this game and get PSJ some farm here, but with a haste rune, they're still looking for blood mid lane. Greedy actually going to think better of it, and he'll TP back to help out Dark Kanoa. He will jump forward with a two-man clap and a split. It'll allow the Storm Spirit to zip over to the east. Cold Embrace going to keep Brax healthy for now, and Dark Kanoa does have a TP available to him, but he's just going to stand there and get soul ripped to death. And now they're going to go to work on the Brewlings, which are pretty tanky at this point, but the Brewmaster pretty much going to be left for dead by his squad here. He will get the BKB and blink out. It's going to cost him his 10-second BKB charge to make it out of this one. Meanwhile, the Storm Spirit going to die, and Tier 3 is going to be chipped down top lane and now denied by Dragon Fist, as it was only one hit away from being brought down. But still, you lose a split, you lose a 10-second BKB charge, your TA and your Storm Spirit, all in about a minute and a half.
I was going to ask during that fight where Ztok was. He's going to pop a Soul Ring, Yule's Scepter up onto the Dragon, but won't be able to get that kill. Light Strike Array wasn't even thrown. Whitebeard is going to be flying inside the air for quite a good time. I think they really needed that Lina there, however. She was split pushing. It does get a Tier 3 for trouble, and that's nice and all. But it costs a lot of the resources coming out from their other cores. I mean, Lina technically isn't a core, but she is the third highest net worth on the team. They needed that Laguna Blade. There were times in that fight where people did drop below that instant kill threshold, and it would have been wonderful. DD on Banana Slam Jamma going to mean that Summer's Rift are going to go ahead and go for Roshan.
Yeah, and once the split is popped and the Storm Spirit's out of the engagement, Alina is the only way they have to deal with this Cold Embrace, so they really need her to be present in this fight. Zip forward from the Storm Spirit is going to get hexed up in the pit, and he did snatch that Aegis, but is now probably going to feed his life forward. He will get Yule's up into the air, and the Winter's Curse will be dropped onto Greedy. The Shackle onto Dark Kanoa as well. The Splinter Blast coming through. The Storm Spirit able to zip up, and this Primal Split gets off. The Laguna Blade is going to be there to bring down Brax. The Death Ward on the high ground, not doing much of anything. Cold Embrace going to keep Demon up for the time being, and right-clicks out into Ztok. The defensive Yules will be there. The Cyclone out onto Banana Slam Jamma on the side. The Storm Spirit going to be picked off, but the LSA is there. BSJ down as well, and the Viper going to be picked off to the north. MNZ able to meld as well, and Whitebeard having to back off, looking for more blood. Is the TA. Needs to be a little bit careful, but going to continue pushing up. Buyback situation for the Dire is swell. They've got buybacks available on all 4 heroes that are down, but it seems that the Radiant are at least willing to pressure this top lane.
How many buybacks do you need to spend to kill off the TA? I honestly don't think very many, but they might need to. They're bringing the Brewmaster as well. Now that the backdoor protection has been disabled by the creeps marching in mid, melee barracks are going to fall. Ranged barracks soon after, and Summer's Rift, are they really going to hold on to these? Maybe they've lulled Unknown into thinking that there are no buybacks, and maybe they'll stick around for a mid push that could be the cost of their lives. But even though that's 40 minutes into the game, it's still quite a blow to lose that full lane of barracks, in a side lane no less. They'll jump in, Yule Scepter onto the Undying, Light Striker falls up, and even though he does have that extra bit of sustain from the Winter Wyvern, I don't think it's going to be enough. With the Meld Strike, it's going to kill him off on impact. BKB popped as Whitebird blinks forward. They buy back on the Shadow Shaman, if I'm not mistaken. Unknown are going to keep on going. Draw Ranger's back up and running as well. Selena starts working into this tier 3 tower. Light Strike Ray is going to keep that buff up for her attack speed as they're going to keep on going for this extra bit of pressure. Z-Talk is low. Draw Ranger's there with the Gust. The Light Strike Ray is a little bit too late, but is able to use off that silence. That'll jump in. Banana Slam Gem is pulled back. Will the magic damage be enough? They don't have a Laguna Blade. They're trying to focus her down, but with that little bit of help from the Cold Embrace, she is going to survive inside her base, and now they're going to Hex. They'll be able to bring down Templar Assassin's Refraction, killing her off with that Undying and his Soul Rip. Blink Out coming out from Greedy. Greedy is slowed down, however, by the Winter Wyvern, and they will continue this chase. With the Atos slow and a little bit more damage, they'll get him. Although it comes at a hefty cost, still it remains that top lane of barracks is in the favor of Unknown.
Yeah, they do get a decent amount of chip damage done on the mid lane as well. I believe they forced the buyback out onto Brax. They did, and even onto the Shadow Shaman. But it looks like, yeah, Demon's buyback is on cooldown as well. So Summer's Rift may be looking for the GG push here, knowing that if they allow the TA and the Brewmaster to respawn without buying back, that they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Yule's defensively used by Z-Talk. He's going to get caught out on the high ground. And now this is probably going to queue up the push for Summer's Rift. He's able to blink to the north, but a blink forward from Whitebeard with the Yules of his own is there. Laguna Blade comes out with the Dragon Slave. LSA going to miss. And the Cold Embrace keeping Whitebeard up for now. Buyback coming out from Z-Talk. He's TPing to the top lane along with his Storm Spirit, who's brought down the tier 3, and they're going straight for this melee Rax. Looking at the TP situation for the Dire side, and they've only got one. One just purchased up by Brax as well. BSJ back to his base. He's going to Yule's up the Storm Spirit, but he'll be able to back off. The Winter's Curse going to be used onto Z-Talk. He just bought back. That will be a dieback for the Lina, but Storm Spirit able to come back in and finish off that melee Rax. And now 2 melee Raxes down for Summer's Rift side, and the TA up without having to buy back is able to bring down the Viper alongside Greedy and Excel.
A rainbow of buybacks from Unknown, Templar Assassin, Brewmaster, and Lina, but it pays off because they do get the melee barracks down towards bottom. Summer's Rift are now in a situation where they have to attend to both top and bottom pushing out, and this is really the ideal situation. If you're going to pick 2 lanes of barracks, you want them to be on either of these side lanes. It's so hard for them to deal with, although they have some decent spam with the Splinter Blast and the Ether Shot coming out from their supports. Their heroes are very single target based when it comes to their scaling damage from the Viper as well as the Joe Ranger, and from here on out it's very smooth sailing for Unknown as they can keep the pressure in mid. With so many buybacks spent as well, the item progression from Summer's Rift just isn't there. Joe Ranger does have her Butterfly, but she picked that up years ago, it feels. Has a BKB at 10 seconds, and that's nice and all, but I don't think it's nice enough. This game is very precarious. Summer's Rift are on the brink of being eliminated from the International Open Qualifiers.
Yeah, and the Radiant side looking very scary at this point. MKB soon to come out for the TA. No reason to say for buyback. That's on cooldown for 5 minutes. So when that comes out, the Butterfly going to be all the less effective for BSJ here. Does have that BKB available, as you mentioned, but there's just more than enough physical damage to bring her down. I feel like if the Wyvern dies early in this engagement for Whitebeard, then Summer's Rift stands little to no chance. I feel like a lot of the engagements have gone their way by virtue of Whitebeard's play thus far. And there are some items coming out for Unknown that perhaps can turn the tides of these fights, starting with that BKB. Boots of Travel up for the Brewmaster as well. Interesting pickup from him. Maybe looking to contribute to that fight, but unable to do so thereafter. They are going to push up these lanes, though, and the Radiant side perhaps looking to end Summer's Rift's hopes.
Up towards top, Light Strike Ray is going to be man to dodge. Lagoon Blade, however, is not. Dragon Fist dropped down to half HP, just casually. Although, oh my goodness, what a great time to pause. We have a Golden Sheep Brewmaster at the moment, lag called out by Z-Talk, and well, this is awkward to say the least. What's going to happen next? Demon does have shackles to follow up, and BSJ has more than enough damage to bring down this brew. Although no Monkey King Bar might mean that he's able to get off the split, I highly doubt it. Z-Talk probably needs to blink in and cancel the shackles if they want to get out alive with the brew, but both of these heroes having bought back, it's a very precarious situation.
2 seconds until blink available to Z-Talk. He can jump in and LSA up that demon shackle. As well, the TA rotating in from the south with her BKB available, and if they're able to get this BKB off and disengage onto Greedy, he's got a regen rune bottled. So I do worry a bit for Summer's Rift. Of course, they can jump in with the Winter's Curse to counter-initiate on either that TA or the Lina, so this could certainly go either way, but seems to be maybe the last engagement of this game. Many buybacks down right now. The only buybacks available in the game is actually Whitebeard on his Wyvern. Nobody else really even close. 250 gold away is the Viper. Doesn't feel like he's going to be able to farm that in this engagement. Maybe if they garner a couple kills before he goes down.
Alrighty then, we're just waiting for this game to be on pause. Lina is constantly disconnecting, reconnecting. Looks good now, with the exception being that Z-Talk is in a bit of a pickle. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Let's see. You said that this might be the last engagement of the game, but I think we still have a little bit more to go, although Templar Assassin smoked up, as is the Witch Doctor. They might be able to catch Summer's Rift off guard if they overcommit for this Brewmaster and Lina kill. You're right, this might actually be the last one. If things go south for Summer's Rift, their base is going to be in shambles. Yeah,
I mean, it depends who wins it. If Summer's Rift wins it, probably don't see the end of the game. If they lose it heavily, there are no buybacks for them except for Whitebeard, so it's going to be very, very perilous for them to jump in here. And I'm sure they're talking over the merits of going full-fledged on this Brewmaster or just letting him walk. But either way, as it stands, we take a look at the dire vision. They only have vision of the Lina. So it does look like a kill that you would go for. The Radiant Vision only have vision of the Shadow Shaman and the Drow Ranger. So go by Demon. Did we see a go by the... Alright, Z-Talk says whatever. Go.
Oh, we're about to go. They're going to get the follow-up onto Greed, but the Light Strike Array is thrown a little too early. Greedy's getting focused by Serp Wards and BSJ with the follow-up from Whitebeard. They'll get it, but the Witch Doctor Death Ward has nothing to cancel it. Is ripping apart Summer's Rift. Now Storm Spirit jumps in. He almost gets a full channel off for Excel, although he eventually does die to Brax. They lose their Brewmaster. It's a 2-for-2 trade. They'll chase forward for a little bit more. BKB pop by the Templar Assassin. Does she have a blink, and does she want to pursue any further? Looks like the answer is no on both accounts. That went pretty closely for either side, but no buyback on the Shadow Shaman, no buyback on the Drow. I think Unknown are free to take this third and final set of barracks and mop up the range barracks in bottom.
Yeah, easily these structures going down with the Desolator available to them. Glyph going to be popped. It looks like the last bastion of hope for Summer's Rift is this defense. They're going to mount in the mid lane. The Eul Scepter is up onto Brax. LSA not going to land with the Force Staff being there, but they blow up the Viper completely. He gets soul ripped, but it's only going to delay the inevitable, and now the Viper going down. He has the only buyback in the game, is able to expend it. And jumping back into this engagement is forcing back the whole lineup of Unknown, but they do get that final Rax, or that final Rax in the mid lane before disengaging. Rod of Aoi out onto Z-Talk, but they're going to look to turn this on to Brax. And just a glancing LSA for the time being. The Storm Spirit trying to rot away bottom lane. He is going to get the Hex up onto Brax, but he catches a Viper Strike. Jump forward from MNZ, chopping down Brax. The Cold Embrace is there once again from Whitebeard, keeping up his comrade. They do get the Rax, though. The Meld Strike going through into the Viper. It's a dieback if he goes down here. BKB expiring in a second for the TA, and now MNZ getting very low. They bring down Brax here, and the jump forward split finally from the Brewmaster back into the fight, but does he have enough follow-up? It doesn't seem to be the case. BSJ with his BKB pop looking to bring down Z-Talk will be able to do so alongside Whitebeard, and the defense is mounted by Summer's Rift, but extremely costly. Mega creeps have been gained by the Radiant side, and they will be able to Euls up the Brewmaster in the mid lane. Greedy going to be hit with the Splinter Blast as well, probably going to be brought down here. Death Ward coming through, but the Eul Scepter does cancel it, and a nice blink out from Greedy as the Gust catches him. Excel going to go down here, but just a consolation prize, it seems, for the Radiant. Meanwhile, Greedy's been caught out by the blinking
Big
forward
zip-in.
Whitebeard, and the zip-in from the Storm Spirit is going to find the Drow Ranger. That's Banana Slam Jamma down for 85 seconds. No buyback, and Summer's Rift are going to be eliminated from the Face It Open qualifiers. Demon BSJ will not see them at TI5, and very well played from Unknown. A few missteps along the way, but they're able to take it.
That series was anything but clean from both sides. Game number 1 looking really sketchy coming out from the Summer's Rift side, and game number 2 equally as sketchy by Unknown. In all honesty, that Huskar just not working out for them in any way, shape, or form, but they're going to eliminate Summer's Rift. A lot of people would have said coming into this that Summer's Rift were the favorites to come through the open qualifiers, but now Unknown have a date in the finals for a slot in the proper TI qualifiers, which is pretty incredible for them. A great chance and a great opportunity.
Yeah, and they've been impressive for also eliminating Yawar and Trouf's team earlier on, so somewhat of a giant slayer in this NA qualifier, and it turns out that roster shuffle maybe not working out, at least not immediately, for Summer's Rift. Unfortunate for them. They'll be eliminated here. Grand finals coming up soon. That's the last best of 3 of the evening, guys. Thanks you so much for joining us over on HeflaTV. Hope you enjoyed the cast. If you did, you can follow myself over on Twitter at MRP_Dota, my co-caster at GrandisV. And if you didn't like the cast, just flame me in Twitch chat. Why not? Join us for the next series, guys, coming up soon. That'll be the grand finals, and not sure what the status is of the other series going on right now, but we'll keep you updated in the wait screen for now. Thanks for joining us, and GG.